Hello everyone, this is Ben from VGBlaster and today I'm bringing you my Royal Paladin Altmile Brave deck build. So this is my build. I love this deck, it's very fun, very aggressive, puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. So for our starting Vanguard we'll be running Resurgent Knight Styrus, I believe is his name. He is the Forerunner obviously. He has the ability of Generation Rate 1, Brave, which is the new Royal Paladin skill, which only activates when you have 3 or less cards in your hand. So when you're at Brave, you put this card into your soul. You choose one of your rear guards, and to the end of turn it gets plus 5,000 power, and at the end of turn you can bounce that card back to your hand. This is very good. You can throw cards down to bring your hand size down to 3. Like you could throw like a Perfect Guard down, or one of the Grade 1 Stride Enablers, or an extra Grade 3 you have. And it'll fulfill the Brave by knocking your hand down, and then you can bounce it back to hand at the end of turn for use defensively or use to stride. And the extra 5,000 power is also very nice to have, because like I said, this deck is very aggressive, lots of power, lots of rearguard attacks, very powerful. So for grade 3s, we'll be running 4 copies of Blue Sky Knight Altmile. Here's obviously your ideal ride. The deck revolve around him pretty much, being your Vanguard. His Generation 2 skill is during your turn all of your units on the front row gain plus 5k. Very good skill for no cost, and just adds that more pressure. And his secondary effect is Canvas 1. During a turn when you stride onto this card, you may call up to 2 cards from your hand to separate rearguard circles, and then choose 2 of your units and they get plus 5,000 power to the end of turn. So this is just to... The first part of the skill is just so you have the cards on the field. You don't have to call 2 units, you can just call 1 or none. And then, regardless of if you called anything, you choose 2 units, which can be Vanguard as well, and they gain 5,000 power to the end of turn. So once again, it's more power, very good. And obviously you need him as your Vanguard for the new Altmile Stride. So our second grade 3, we run Model Knight Oran. He has a Generation 1 Brave skill on the Vanguard circle that all your units with the Brave ability on the front row gain plus 3k. That skill's not very good. You ideally don't want this guy as your Vanguard. We mainly run him for his secondary skill of Can't Blast 1, Soul Blast 1 when he is placed on Vanguard. So if you do have to use him if you don't have your Altmile, you may pay the cost. If you do, the top 5 cards of your deck, search up to 1 card with the Brave ability, reveal it to your opponent, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So he's just there for that. If you do have to ride him, you can just build your hand up so you have more rear guards to call, put more pressure on your opponent, and just kind of like wait it out until you get your Altmile. So my grade 2 lineup, this is kind of in contention. Like I might change this around a bit, so feel free to do that yourself if you don't like my lineup. But this has worked pretty well for me so far. So to start off, we run 3 copies of Counter-Offensive Knight Suleiman. I think that's how you say his name. He has 2 effects. The first one being both Generation Rate 1. The first one being Brave. If you have an Altmile Vanguard, this card gets plus 3k. So 12k attacker on GB1 if you have an Altmile Vanguard and you have 3 less cards in your hand, which is a bit of a pain to get. There's another reason why you really want Altmile as your Vanguard, but it can help. You do meet that criteria quite regularly, so yeah. But your secondary skill is Generation 1 again. Can't Blast 1, choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have a Vanguard with Altmile its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 not named Counter-Offensive Knight Suleiman, call it to R, shuffle your deck, and that unit gets plus 2k until the end of turn. So the discard cost might seem a bit off, but it can help you fulfill the Brave ability. It activates when he attacks Vanguard. So say you had 4 cards in hand, discarded 1 down to 3, he would get his power, because it's continuous passive skill. And then you get an extra card, an extra call. It doesn't have to be an open circle, you can call over another rear guard that's, say, you've already attacked with. So he can be very useful. He didn't seem that good at first. No one really everyone kind of wondered why he was a triple R, but in practice he's very, very good. So next for grade 2s, we run 3 copies of Knight of Twin Sword. Most Royal Paladin decks run this card. It's very good. It's your standard Generation 1, Can't Blast 1 when boosted. In his case, when he's boosted, you can search your deck for a grade 2 not named Knight of Twin Sword, call it to rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. So once again, helps you fill that field up or refill the field up if you're against a Kagero deck or Narukami that wipes out your rearguards. So This deck doesn't really struggle against decks like that because you do have a lot of on-call call abilities. In the same vein, we run 3 copies of Hope Song Angel. His skill is Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1. When this unit is placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 card with the Brave ability, call it to Rearguard Circle, and then shuffle your deck. So he's very good because he is not limited by Generation Break. Obviously he's an 8k, which can be a problem, but he helps you fill up the field for free, and it is just any card with a Brave ability. It doesn't have to be a grade 2, so in this deck we've got we've got a 0, 1, 2 and 3, at least one of each in each grade with the Brave ability. So you can use him to kind of suit your needs for the situation, and it just once again helps you fill up the field or refill it, so he's good for that. And finally for grade 2s we run 2 Knight of Fragment. His skill is Generate 1. During your turn, if you have 2 or more grade 2 rear guards, this unit gets plus 2k, so he counts as well. So if you just have another grade 2 on the field, he's an 11k attacker. And he gets this skill of when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you may Soul Charge 1 and Counter Charge 1. So I run Knight of Fragment because this deck blows through Counterblast, and even though we run the Perfect Guard and Flippers, sometimes it's not enough. This guy really helps. You only really need to run him at 2, you do a lot of searching for your deck for rear guard, so it's not that hard to get him out. So that's why I run him, really, for the counter charge. The Soul Charge kind of helps as well if you're going to use all your Hope Song Angels, just to keep that soul built up. So now, moving on to grade 1s, I run 4 Holy Knight Guardian. She's the Perfect Guard G, so when she's your Perfect Guard, so stops all attacks on Vanguard, and then if you have a copy of her in the drop zone, you may counter charge 1. I don't use, is it Hope Song Angel, the new Perfect Guard, the Brave one? Because like I said, this deck already blows through so much counterblast that I didn't really use her skill. I didn't call her, I always kept her in my hand because I didn't want to use the counterblast. And then I find I was running really low or just out of counterblast completely, so I went back to Holy Knight Guardian. She works a lot better, I found. But if you like Hope Song Angel, if you want to run a different kind of counter charge engine, go for it, but I just prefer this way myself personally. So next for grade 1s we run 4 Laurel Knight Sicilus. Once again I butcher a lot of the names, but he's your grade 1 that counts as a grade 3 when you use him for the cost of Stride, and also when he's placed on Rearguard Circle you can reveal a grade 3 in your hand, search your deck for a Altmile, put it into your hand and then discard a card. So he's very good to get your Altmile out. You commit to the board early anyway, against most decks, certainly not against Link Joker, which this deck does struggle against, unfortunately. So you have to be a bit more conservative against that deck. But against most every other deck, you commit to the board very early, so it's not really a minus. Going to Sicilus, and then the discard can help fulfill Brave, even though it's only like most Brave skills are Generation Break anyway. But he's very good just to help the deck be a bit more consistent as well as easy to get your strides. So next we run 4 of another new card, which is Headwind Knight Selim, I think. Anyway, his ability is continuous Brave skill. Again, if you have a Vanguard with Altmile, its card name, this unit gets plus 3000 power. So he's a 10k booster or attacker wherever you put him on the field when you're in Brave and an Altmile Vanguard. And his secondary effect, which is very good, it's a continuous skill in the deck. If you have a Vanguard with Altmile its card name, this card gets grade +1. So when you search, use your skills to search for a grade 2 from your deck. If you're on Altmile Vanguard, either you're grade 3 or you've strung into 1. He counts as a grade 2 in your deck, so if you've got a full front row and you don't really need any more grade 2s, you can call him out to back row if you're a bit short there, and then usually he's going to be a 10k booster as well on top of that. And a lot of your half your grade 2s are 11 and 12k attackers, so you're making very powerful columns in addition to like the power your Altmile is going to give to them as well. So he's very good, and is why we're running with 4. And finally for grade 1s we run 2 Knight of Reform Peer. He is his skills generate 1. When your other grade 2 is placed on Rearguard Circle, so that's when a grade 2 is placed anywhere on Rearguard Circle. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Altmile its card name, choose 2 of your units in the same column as this unit, and they get plus 2k to the end of turn. So whenever you call a grade 2, the column he's in will get +4 as long as there's 2 units in it, obviously, or he'll just get +2. But usually, if you know you're going to call 2, you call one in his column first, and then call another one to a different column. So he's very good, very combo-y, because you do... I run stand triggers in this deck, and obviously, because you have a lot of options in terms of calling, you could just like have a card in front of it to gain the power, then just attack with that, and then call over it, and then they get power again, he gets another 2k, and then you can swing in with him. So he's very good, makes powerful columns even bigger. So finally we move on to our triggers. Start to run 4 Encourage Angel. Stand triggers, obviously this deck, you don't really want to be running draws, and because you want to kind of keep with the Brave ability, you don't want your hand too big. But there's other cards that can help you draw as well, which we'll go on to next. But we run stands because your front row is usually very, very powerful. So swinging in multiple times with like units like plus 20k on their own is very good. And also Encourage Angel can be recycled through the deck. So her effect is when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, choose 2 of your other units. You can have those units gain plus 3,000 power until the end of turn, and if you do, return this card to your deck and then shuffle it. So obviously, if you do have quite a big hand and you want to go into your Brave, you can throw this down, you put a trigger back into your deck for that, and your hand is now minused to help you get the Brave ability off. So she's very good. Once again, stand triggers, very good in this deck, so that's why we run them at 8. So our second one is Surregal. His ability is Brave. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle until the end of turn, it gets, at the end of your turn, draw a card and return this unit to your deck, and then shuffle your deck. So that effect is given when he's placed, if you have 3 or less cards in your hand. So say you have 4 cards in your hand, call him down, he gets that effect. Even after he drive checks, you go up to 6 cards. His effect will still activate because he's already gained it. So it doesn't matter if you go over the Brave cost. As soon as he's placed, if he gains it, he keeps it. So once again, a recyclable trigger that can be thrown down to minus your hand down to 3, and then you gain a card at the end of the turn as well for defense on your opponent's turn after that. So that's why we run stands, and once again they work very well in this deck. Next we'll run 4 critical triggers. This should be the same, I just can't find my other copy of Belenus right now. So yep, 4 copies of Bringer of Dream Belenus. Here's your standard. When your Vanguard attacks, in his case if it's Altmile, you may put this unit into your soul. You then draw a card and your Vanguard gets plus 5,000 power for that battle. So he once again is useful if you have to throw him down to fulfill the Brave cost. He's still very useful, powers up your Vanguard, lets you draw a card to replace him, so you're not minusing yourself that much, and once again just more power in this deck. And finally 4 heals. So for strides, we run 2 copies of Transcending the Heavens Altmile. This is a very good card. Usually, like you don't have to run this guy at 2. Like my goal usually is to pretty much finish my opponent the first time I go into this guy, which is your second stride. If you've got everything set up properly, you usually kill your opponent on this turn, depending on what deck you're against and, like I said, your setup. So this skill is once per turn, Generation Break 2, counter +1 and choose a face down card from your G zone and turn it face up. If you have a heart with Altmile in its card name, until the end of turn this unit gets, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, search a card for up to 1 grade 2 and call it to rearguard circle, then shuffle your deck, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of turn. And a secondary ability of, during your turn, all units on your front row gain plus 2k for each face-up card named Aerial Divine Knight Altmile in your G-Zone. So that's obviously the previous stride version of Altmile, which we'll go into next. But yeah, obviously your strategy is you go into Aerial Divine Knight Altmile first, flip 1 face up, and then when you go into this guy, you'll have 3 of them face up. So your front row usually gains 6k the first time you go into him, and then obviously when he attacks, you get to call a unit. This is also why we don't go full stand in this deck, and we still run some crits, because usually I do have, when my Vanguard attacks, I do have at least 1 stud unit, so sometimes a crit might be wasted if you don't hit a stand in the same drive check as well. So if you were wondering why we run crit and not full 12 stand, that's why. Very good, powers up your front row, calls a unit that gains 5,000 power itself on top of the 6,000 power he'll probably gain because of the secondary skill, on top of your other rearguard's ability to call other units. Obviously, like I said, this deck is blowing through the counterblasting. You usually save it for the first time you go into this guy, and then just try and finish your opponent off completely. He's a very good card. Obviously, you don't have to run him at 2. He's very hard to get hold of, very expensive card because he's a generation rare. Apparently they're getting easier to get hold of in the next set, but we'll see. So yeah, you don't have to run him at 2, but I do because sometimes, especially coming up soon when people have access to Generation Guard, Generation Guardians even, it might be harder to finish your opponent off on the first one, so you might need a second one just to back up yourself. So next, so this is supposed to be 4 copies of Aerial Divine Knight Altmile. I'm currently kind of proxying a Samuel at the minute. I wouldn't suggest running Samuel because, like I said, the counterblast cost in this deck is very heavy. You rarely have 2 open counterblast that you want to use, but I just I couldn't get hold of a 4th copy before the price is shot up, so hopefully I'll get hold of one soon. But ideally, if you have 4 Aerial Divine Knight, be running him at 4 because it just optimizes your Transcending the Heavens Altmile. So his skill is, it's an auto skill, choose a face down card named Aerial Divine Knight Altmile, so it's a G persona flip from the G zone to face up. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do until the end of turn, this unit gets the ability of Continuous on Vanguard. All units in the front row gain plus 3k. Then, if the number of face-up cards in your G zone is 2 or more, search your deck for up to 1 grade 2, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck, and that unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of turn. So at the minute, you don't usually get a secondary skill because you go into him first, flip him up, and you just gain the power, and you just basically setting yourself up for Transcending the Heavens Altmile. So that's basically the strategy now. When we get Generation Guardians, if you can use it before you get this guy out, so obviously if you've had to go first and you've run into grade 3, your opponent goes into grade 3 and either strides or just whatever, use your Generation Guard, Generation Guardian. Obviously it helps keep your counterblast down. You don't need that much for your first turn. This guy's costless. You probably just use 1 counterblast on your Altmile. And then when you use him, when you go into your first stride and you'll use him, you'll get the power and you'll get the call and you'll have set yourself up for Altmile next turn. I'm very excited for when we do get G Guardians because it makes a lot more interesting plays like that. It also boosts, we're also getting an increase in the Generation Zone deck size, doubling up to 16. So you'll probably run 4 Generation Guardians just to be safe, and you pretty much get 4 extra slots in your G Zone. So I'm very looking forward to that. I'm excited to see what people make and build, and I'm excited for my own decks to bump up. So finally, because we're currently only limited to 8 cards until May 20th, I believe, is when that rule comes in. With the release of Fights Collection, when we get all the G Guardians, I run 2 copies of Holy Dragon, Sable Dragon. A very good card, very good if you know your opponent doesn't have a perfect guard, and maybe you've not got a lot of field or counterblast, or you run out of counterblast and you can't really do much else. His ability is an act skill. Choose a face down card named Holy Dragon, Sable Dragon, so and turn it face up, so G persona flip again. This unit gets plus 3,000 power for each of your rear guards until the end of turn. If the number of cards in your G zone is 2 or more, and the number of rear guards you have is 2 or more, this unit gets plus 1 critical until the end of turn, and it's all once per turn skill. So like I said, if you know your opponent doesn't have a perfect guard, or you got a counterblast again, go into this guy, swing in and just try and finish off your opponent. Yeah, so I'll probably bump this guy up to 4 when we get the G zone increase, and then maybe I'd like a Gablade, and I might add a Samuel, but like I said, you rarely use it. If you don't like Saint Blow, or you don't have him, you can use Gablade, use Samuel, because they are very useful in certain situations, and sometimes you might just not have had been using your counterblast as much, or you've got a lot of unflips. So certain cards can be more useful. Like I said, I'm very looking forward to the G zone being increased to see what people do with that, and very different plays you can make. And I think it'll kind of stop people playing the grade 2 game, because you want to ride into grade 3 if you can use your G Guardian, and then you can set up GB2 skills on your first stride, which is good and also scary at the same time. So yeah, that has been, I'll shut up now, that's been my deck profile for my Altmile build, Royal Paladins. I'll probably get some fights filmed with this guy soon. They might go up before this video actually. We'll see what order I upload those in. But yeah, so look forward to that. I'll get some fights, maybe against Grand Blue or Shadow Paladin, something like that. So yeah, this has been Ben from VGBlaster. See you guys soon. Bye.